those tickets, we just move on and take other tickets and start working on them, forgetting completely about the other thing which we were working on. And so people are following up on stuff like Ada, what Ada says. She's assuming that we're working on that, and she's like asking herself, "What's going on? It's 3 weeks in here." So,
well, but I guess one thing that we can do with that is you can also say that nobody should have 400 tickets on hold. That if you have, maybe there's some threshold where you say you can have 3 or 4 tickets that are on hold, but if you get beyond that, you need to be releasing tickets, and those kinds of things could be monitored with reports.
Yeah, that can be extended to in progress also. Maybe we should also say no one can have more than 400 tickets in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a very informative. Probably even when someone goes on leave, we need also to say maybe it's on, because maybe someone has gone on leave for 1 month and the ticket is still in progress for the whole month.
Yeah, and an easy way to manage that would be to say, at a bare minimum, that when you go on leave, that you just go into Jira and do a bulk change of all your active tickets to hold, and then someone seeing that, oh wait, there's a ticket on hold that needs to be done, that would trigger them to say, well, maybe this needs to get reassigned to someone else.
Okay. The last agenda item is a prelude to reporting framework walkthrough.
Yeah, so we have a OpenMRS University forum that is starting in 20 minutes, where they were planning on walking through the reporting framework, but it looks like that topic got rescheduled. But Mike Seaton, who built a lot of the reporting framework, agreed that he could be on the call. And the hope was that we could, speaking with him, could understand, and maybe my hope is that we get Jonathan Dick on the call and Ampath developers, and we could talk about how we could leverage reporting for the ETL playground. And the ETL playground is basically, Jonathan Dick has used Django to start loading data into a kind of denormalized database for reporting needs, primarily focusing, I think, with Daniel on tracking loss to follow-up. But his approach is one where he feels like he could use it for a lot of different things. And but having Jonathan do a lot of fun and neat stuff, say with Daniel, and then eventually he leaves, that's not very sustainable. And so my hope was that it's also not a good thing if we're pulling stuff out with raw SQL that we're and then trying to recreate or recalculate things that we're already doing for other reports. So my hope was that we could find a way where we could move data from AMRS or AMRS research into kind of an ETL playground, kind of what Jonathan's doing, but through a module that would allow us to do some of it with SQL, and some of it we could do by getting reports to run and taking their output and moving that into the playground. So the notion being that if, for example, we have a report that calculates when someone started ARVs, or when whether or not they're being actively treated or not, that kind of stuff, if we've already created report definitions for that, we should be leveraging those and pulling those into the ETL playground right beside patient demographics and other information, so that what you have to do kind of ad hoc reports on in that playground is a combination of things that were drawn directly from SQL, but also things that were pulled through reporting so that the same definitions, the same calculations are done, regardless of whether you're looking at it in a report or you're looking at it in someone's ad hoc report they've done off of the ETL data. Does that make? I don't know how much background or how much you guys have heard of the discussion of the ETL module or the ETL playground.
Maybe before I left for leave, I think we had I had just seen what Jonathan was trying to do, but I haven't had any other discussion. I don't know what's happening on that one.
Yeah, so there's Jonathan is using Django and basically creating SQL queries that pull out data and transform it so that he can do fairly rapid and useful reports for Daniel, which is a nice, it can be very powerful in terms of generating rapid reports, but it's right now very much dependent on Jonathan and his technologies, and that's, it's not really sustainable if the only person who can do it is Jonathan, and so where his real strength is understanding which questions are being asked, what data is needed, and how to transform it, and he's spending, I think, a fair amount of his time building up the tooling to do it. And so there is on the wiki, I think it's still in my personal space, a page called something about ETL module, and ETL is extract, transform, and load. Is that right? I think so. And ETL is basically the process of saying, when you're doing kind of data warehousing or doing reporting off of your data, the process of going and pulling those data, which are in, like in AMRS, they're designed in AMRS to have data in one spot, like a certain value, a patient's blood pressure or their CD4 count is in one location and one location only for that particular lab result, so that you ensure that no matter how you get to it, you always get the same answer. In reporting and meeting reporting needs, it's very common that to make fast reports, you actually want to denormalize the data, and that value, say that CD4 count, might end up in 10 or 50 different locations in the database in a design for a data warehouse, where you're basically reorganizing the data, in some cases duplicating data in ways so that you can run very quick reports on it. And so that's part of what Jonathan has been doing is kind of flattening the data, making it more spreadsheet-like by moving it, transforming it from AMRS into another database. And what we're suggesting is to allow him to continue doing that, but to build a module. He's not familiar or comfortable with Java programming, but it wouldn't be too difficult to run his SQL from a simple AMRS module, and then that would allow us, if we were doing it that way, it would allow us to then also not just run direct SQL to pull data out, but also call the reporting framework and say, okay, run this ARV report that will calculate the start date for ARVs for all the patients the same way, using the exact same definition that's used for the ministry report. But we're going to get those data and we're going to move those into Jonathan's database as well.
Okay, that's good.
So, yeah, in essence, the thing we're trying, there is, reporting framework is very good when you define a particular report. You might have one for the ministry that you need to run over and over again, and you want to have it so that anybody that's a non-programmer can come and just run the report. That's kind of what the reporting framework is built for. There is a lot of very, very complicated studies of the data that are being done where the data team is using SQL to do direct extractions and then using tools like SAS to do statistical queries, for research projects and large reports. So we have the reporting framework to do kind of built-in reporting. We have people doing direct queries of the database and using SAS. And what Jonathan's doing is kind of coming between those and saying, let's take the data and make it simpler for people to do analysis on it by rearranging it. And that's what the ETL is. He's built up tools using Python and Django, and built up some tools fairly quickly to start doing those transforms. And the thought is that what we're missing out on is if he just does direct SQL and pulls data out, if you need to know, for example, is someone on ARVs and he has in his database, now you would be forced to do the exact same calculation that we're already doing for reporting in AMRS. And mistake, or you do it a little bit differently, then suddenly your numbers don't match up with what the ministry numbers are, and Kamayo's head explodes. So our goal is my hope is that we could kind of leverage what Jonathan's doing, but also do it in a way by giving him a tool in an ETL module, giving him a tool where he could pull data out and get it sometimes through SQL, and some of the data he would be getting would be coming from the reporting framework, because the reporting framework doesn't just have to generate reports. The reporting framework can generate a CSV or something like that could be easily dumped into as just data into Jonathan's database. I fear one of the things we have to be very careful of is we need to take those very common calculations that, like, is someone on ARVs, or are they on treatment, or have they, there's certain things that are going to be used by a lot of different programs. We need to get those so they're calculated in one place, and the best place for that is the report definitions. So my hope was that if we got on the same page in terms of that approach, that then we could get Jonathan, you guys, and Mike Seaton, who's done a lot with the reporting framework, in a discussion that's coming up in less than 10 minutes, and talk about how reporting framework could contribute to that design.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for us. Thank you, Bak, for sharing that. I think that makes the end of the topics that we had. Do we have any other business before we join the developers call, the OpenMRS call?
I think there's a big conversation around, not that big, I guess. There's some conversation around the bugs mentioned by Ampath developer around Mozilla. So I think it's very important for us to communicate if there is any issues, because we need to know how to distribute the resources. As we all know, we don't have that much resources, and we need to stay focused on what the highest priority right now. So if there's any issues, if you ask to test something and then there's a bug, I think it's really important to be on this all the time. Like, if there's a bug, if you find a bug when you test something, please report it immediately. You can file a ticket, and then in addition to that, because most of the time we don't get notification from Jira due to the internet issues most of the time, please also send email to the dev list. So we need to let others know that there is an issues after the testing. So don't stay quiet or don't try to fix it by yourself, because if I think it's really important for everyone to know, so other can know how much resource need to be allocated to fix that issues. We need to know what kind of work need to be done. Like, do we need to some sort of design call, design discussion with Bert and other developers, for example. So I think we're somehow pretty still lacking in communicating issues. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I just found out that there is quite amount of bug around Mozilla after the testing, but that is something that I'm not aware of because nobody tells me there's a bug after. I think it came up probably after the testing. So please let us know so we can allocate the resources to fix this issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Could I also just have a process thing for the developer team around forms? Just basically following the form programming pathways, meaning if the data is going to make it into AMRS, Kimayo has to approve, or one of the leadership guys has to approve that that form is acceptable, and then it has to go to the forms team. The form has to be frozen before the developers start working on it. Otherwise, if we do it any different way, the developer team ends up actually wasting a whole bunch of time. And so just trying to kind of make sure that that process is followed would actually be of great benefit to the developer team.
Okay. That will be taken into consideration.
Yeah, I think the form team should have something like this, I think.
Yeah, Alfio knows because he's wasted a lot of time with the PHCT form without going through the process, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's it. And then probably again, as for the forms that are on the tickets to be worked on, I think there must be. Don't know whether Manu would say, have they all gone through the? I know the no-show form is not, and the other ones that you're working on. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Manu is saying Regan is processing it, so I know. I think it's fine. Any other issue?
Anything else?
Okay, thank you. I think that will make the end of our call.
All right, guys. Yep, I think for Willa said, I think it's really important to communicate on what we're doing and keep on updating the tickets.
Okay.
Cool. All right, I'll see you guys in the dev call in a few minutes then.
See you.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.